She runs. Not away from danger, toward survival. Bare feet slam against frozen earth, every step a fresh blade of pain. Ice cuts into her skin, but she doesn't slow. She can't. Her breath tears out of her chest in ragged bursts, white clouds ripped apart by the wind. Snow whips sideways through the forest, sharp and relentless, stinging her eyes, her mouth, her open wounds. The storm is merciless tonight. Just like the last 7 years of her life. Blood runs warm down her thigh. She can feel it. Sticky. Slippery. Proof she's still alive. Proof she's still bleeding. The forest around her groans under the weight of winter. Ancient pines creak and sway, their branches heavy with snow, bowing like witnesses who refuse to intervene. Roots claw at her ankles as if the ground itself wants to drag her down and claim her. Every stumble sends a jolt of panic through her chest, but she catches herself, keeps moving, teeth clenched so hard her jaw aches. She doesn't dare look back. She doesn't need to. She can hear them. Paws tearing through snow. Heavy. Familiar. Too familiar. Wolves. Her wolves. Her former pack. The sound crawls up her spine, igniting a fear that feels older than memory. Not the fear of being killed, but the fear of being judged. Of being seen. Of being remembered as the thing they cast out. 7 years ago, they turned their backs on her. Tonight, they are hunting her. Her lungs burn. Every breath scrapes raw, like glass dragged through her chest. The cold slips into her bones, deep and intimate, settling where hope once lived. Her toes are numb. She can't feel her fingers. She isn't sure how much longer her body can keep this up. But her wolf can. And that's the problem. The heat rises without permission. Silver heat. It coils beneath her skin, tight and restless, like a living thing pressing outward. Her heartbeat stutters as the familiar pressure builds, starting low in her belly, spreading through her veins. It hums. It aches. It wants out. Her wolf is awake. No, her wolf is furious. She grits her teeth and shakes her head, as if she can physically force it back. She presses a trembling hand to her stomach, as if holding herself together by sheer will. No. Not now. Not ever. She's fought this battle her whole life. She knows how it ends if she loses. If she lets go, if she stops holding the leash. She becomes exactly what they always said she was. A threat. A curse. A disaster waiting to happen. Her pulse roars in her ears, drowning out the storm for a heartbeat. Images flash uninvited, firelight reflected in terrified eyes, elders whispering behind cupped hands, the word dangerous following her like a shadow she can never outrun. Her foot slips on black ice. She goes down hard. The impact steals what little breath she has left. Pain explodes up her spine as her knees slam into frozen ground. Snow fills her mouth. The taste is sharp, metallic, mixed with blood and panic. She scrambles, hands slipping, nails breaking as she claws at the earth. Closer. They are closer now. She can hear the growls. Low. Controlled. Purposeful. Not the sound of rogues. The sound of wolves who know exactly who they are chasing. Tears sting her eyes, freezing almost instantly on her lashes. She hates herself for it. Hates the weakness. Hates that part of her that still wants to believe someone might stop this. That someone might say enough. No one ever has. She pushes herself up, legs screaming in protest, and runs again. Her vision blurs at the edges, dark creeping in. Her heartbeat stumbles, uneven and wild. The silver heat surges. This time, she gasps. It's too strong. Too close to the surface. Her skin prickles, burning from the inside out. She can feel it licking at her bones, whispering promises of strength, speed, power. Promises she's denied for years. Just let me take over, the instinct seems to murmur. Just for a moment. Her hands tremble violently as she forces another step, then another. Her control is fraying. Every drop of blood that hits the snow sends a strange reaction through the world around her. The trees nearest her darken. At first, it's subtle. A shadow passing over bark. Then the wood blackens where her blood splashes, veins of darkness spreading outward like ink in water. Leaves curl and crumble mid-fall. The air shivers. She doesn't see it. She feels it. And fear tightens its grip. No, she whispers hoarsely, voice barely sound at all. Please, no. The snow hisses where it touches her skin. Actually hisses. She stumbles again, catching herself against a tree trunk. The bark beneath her palm is warm. Wrong? Her breath catches as she jerks her hand back, staring at the faint scorch mark left behind. Her chest tightens. It's happening. The thing she's spent 7 years suppressing. The thing she was exiled for before it ever fully emerged. The forest knows. The world knows. And soon, they will too. A howl cuts through the storm. Sharp. Commanding. Her heart lurches painfully. That howl isn't meant to kill her. It's meant to corner her. Her former alpha's voice echoes in her memory, cold and absolute, led over the sound of her name spoken in disappointment all those years ago. The mate ceremony. The silence. The way the bond snapped like glass when he rejected her in front of everyone. Rejected. Unwanted. Unclaimed. She swallows a sob and forces her legs to keep moving, even as her strength bleeds away with every step. The storm howls louder now, wind screaming through the trees like it's trying to drown her out. Snow lashes her face, stinging her cheeks raw, blinding her until the world becomes nothing but white and pain and motion. She doesn't know where she's going. Only that stopping means the end. Her heartbeat becomes erratic, hammering too fast, too hard. The silver heat surges again, no longer asking. Her bones ache with it. Her muscles twitch, begging to shift, begging to release the power coiled inside her. If she loses control, she becomes what they feared. But if she doesn't, she won't survive the night. The realization hits her like another fall, heavy and brutal. This is it. 7 years of running. 7 years of hiding. 7 years of shrinking herself smaller and smaller so the world wouldn't notice her. And still, it found her. Still, it came for her. Her vision darkens, edges tunneling. Her steps falter. She crashes through a low thicket, branches slicing at her arms, her face. Blood blooms fresh and hot against the cold. The forest responds. A low tremor ripples beneath her feet. Snow slides from branches in heavy sheets. Somewhere behind her, one of the wolves yelps, not in pain, but in surprise. Her power is leaking. Whether she wants it to or not. Her chest heaves as she staggers into a small clearing, legs finally giving out. She drops to her knees, palms pressed into snow that steams faintly beneath her touch. Her whole body shakes, caught between exhaustion and the violent pull of the beast inside her. She bows her head, hair plastered to her face, breath coming in broken gasps. I didn't ask for this, she whispers to no one. To everyone. I never asked. The storm answers with a howl of wind. Footsteps crunch at the edge of the clearing. She doesn't look up. She can't. Because some part of her already knows, this moment was always coming. The chase. The reckoning. The point where running stops being an option. The silver heat coils tighter, brighter, furious now. Whatever happens next will change everything. And if you crave stories of rejected mates, alpha kings, and forbidden power, subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories. Because here, every tale burns under the moon. The snow stops screaming first. Not all at once, just enough that she notices the silence bending around her, heavy and wrong. The storm doesn't die, but it hesitates, like it's holding its breath. A shadow moves at the edge of the clearing. Not fast. Not rushed. Certain. Her fingers curl into the snow, instinct screaming at her to get up, to run, to fight, do anything, but her body refuses. She's empty. Shaking. Split open in ways no wound shows. The shadow steps forward. And the world tilts. He's tall. Broad. Built like something carved out of war and command rather than flesh. Snow gathers on his shoulders and never quite dares to settle, sliding off, as if the storm itself knows better. His presence presses into the clearing, heavy enough that the air tightens around him. Gold eyes burn from beneath the hood of his cloak. Not glowing wildly. Not feral. Controlled. Sharp. Ancient. An alpha's gaze. Her heart stutters once, violently, like it's trying to escape her chest. No. No, no, no. The mate bond slams into her without mercy. It isn't gentle. It isn't warm. It's pain first, white-hot and blinding, ripping through her ribs, curling into her lungs, squeezing until she can barely breathe. 7 years of suppression snap all at once, and the bond screams to life like a wound ripped open again. She gasps, choking on it. Him? Of all the faces the night could have thrown at her, it had to be his. The Alpha King steps fully into the clearing, boots crunching softly against the snow. A crown-shaped mark burns into the skin at his throat, faint but unmistakable, like a scar the world itself branded into him. Power rolls off him in controlled waves, enough to make lesser wolves drop their eyes without realizing why. He stops a few paces away. Close enough that she can smell him. Iron. Cold. Smoke. And something else beneath it. Regret. He looks at her like he's memoized her suffering. Then he speaks. Quietly. Carefully. Like he knows one wrong word might shatter what little is holding her together. You're bleeding, little flame. Her name sits on his tongue like a confession he never planned to make. The sound of it breaks something open in her chest. She laughs. It comes out cracked and ugly, halfway to a sob. Her head jerks up, eyes blazing with fury and disbelief, as she glares at him through tangled hair and frozen tears. Don't, she rasps. Don't call me that. 7 years. 7 years since she last heard his voice up close. 7 years since he stood before her under the full moon, eyes just as golden, face carved from the same ruthless restraint, and told the entire pack he would not claim her. The mate bond pulses again, furious now, dragging every buried memory to the surface. The ceremony circle. The elders watching. The silence after. The way he didn't reach for her. The way he stepped back. The way the bond screamed then too, before he severed it with a single sentence. She feels that old humiliation burn fresh in her veins. You don't get to say my name, she says, forcing the words out past the ache. Not after. A growl cuts her off. Not his. Behind him. The clearing erupts into motion. The wolves chasing her burst through the tree line, massive shapes streaking through the snow, eyes wild, breath steaming. They skid to a halt when they see him, but it's already too late. The Alpha King moves. There's no warning. No dramatic pause. One moment he's standing still. The next, he's gone. Power explodes outward as he lunges, faster than thought, faster than fear. His cloak flares like a living thing as he collides with the first wolf mid-shift, driving him into the ground with bone-shattering force. Snow sprays. A snarl turns into a scream. The Alpha King doesn't hesitate. He kills efficiently. Mercilessly. A blur of motion and snapping bone, of growls that shake the trees and claws that tear through flesh. He doesn't roar. He doesn't posture. He ends them. One by one, her former packmates fall, bodies hitting the snow with dull finality. The storm seems to recoil, wind pulling back, as if even nature doesn't want to witness this. She watches, frozen, not by fear, but by shock. This isn't rescue. This is execution. And when it's over, when the last body lies still and steaming in the snow, the Alpha King straightens slowly, breath barely disturbed. Blood stains his hands. Dark. Steaming. He turns back to her. Their eyes lock. The mate bond tightens like a wire pulled too hard. She waits for him to speak. To explain. To apologize. He does none of it. Instead, he reaches into his cloak and pulls out a strip of cloth, already torn, already prepared. He kneels in front of her without ceremony, movements precise, controlled. He takes her injured thigh in his hands, fingers firm but careful, and presses the cloth against the wound. The contact sends a jolt through her entire body. Her wolf surges, furious and aching, screaming at her to lean into him, to claim what was denied. She jerks away with a sharp inhale. Don't touch me. His hands still instantly. Slowly, he pulls back, raising them just enough to show he's listening. His jaw tightens. Something dark flickers behind his eyes, gone before she can name it. Your blood was drawing them closer, he says calmly. You would have collapsed within minutes. And you know this how, she snaps. Been watching me again. The words are meant to cut. They land. His mouth tightens, just barely. Yes. The single syllable drops between them like a stone. Her breath catches. What? I said yes. His gaze doesn't waver. I've been watching. Rage flares hot and immediate, burning through her exhaustion. She pushes herself upright despite the pain, forcing herself to meet his eyes at equal height. You rejected me, she spits. You let them exile me. You watched them tear my life apart, and now you think you get to just, what, show up. He stands too, towering over her now, presence pressing in again. Not threatening. Not backing down. I didn't let them kill you, he says quietly. The words slam into her harder than any blow. She stares at him, chest heaving. What? The council voted for execution, he continues, voice steady but tight. Exile was the compromise. Her knees nearly buckle. No. No, that can't be true. They said I was dangerous, she whispers. They said I was unstable. They said many things, he cuts in. Most of them lies born from fear. Fear. The word tastes bitter. So you chose fear too, she says. You chose them. A long pause stretches between them, thick with unspoken things. Snow drifts lazily now, falling slower, softer, as if the storm itself is listening. I chose time, he says at last. Time you didn't have if they decided to move faster. Her laugh is hollow. 7 years, she says. That's a long time. Yes, he agrees. It is. Silence settles again, heavy and charged. She can feel him then, not just the bond, but the man beneath the alpha. The restraint carved into every movement. The way he keeps his hands clenched at his sides, like touching her might break something he can't afford to lose control of. Her wolf presses forward, confused and aching. She hates that part of herself. Hates that her body still recognizes him. Hates that some traitorous piece of her feels safer standing here than she has in years. You didn't come for me, she says, quieter now. Not once. His gaze softens, just a fraction. I came every night, he says. Just not where you could see me. Her throat tightens painfully. The truth sits between them, raw and unfinished. It doesn't heal anything. It doesn't erase what happened. But it cracks the image she's clung to for survival, the idea that he never cared. Behind him, the forest creaks. The silence breaks with a low, distant rumble. Not thunder. Something deeper. The Alpha King turns his head slightly, eyes narrowing as he listens beyond the clearing, beyond the storm. We can't stay here, he says. She stiffens. I'm not going anywhere with you. His gaze returns to her, steady and unyielding. You don't have a choice, he says, not as a threat, but a statement of fact. They weren't the only ones tracking you. Her stomach drops. What do you mean? I mean, he says, stepping closer, voice dropping, that what's inside you has started to wake up. And once it does, everything will come for you. Her silver heat flares in answer, bright and restless. The forest shudders faintly beneath their feet. She swallows hard. The night isn't done with her yet. And neither is he. They move before she agrees. Not because she wants to follow him, but because the forest makes the decision for her. The ground trembles again, deeper this time, like something vast shifting far beneath the snow. Her silver heat reacts instantly, flaring sharp and defensive, and the Alpha King is already at her side, one hand hovering near her elbow without touching. He doesn't ask. He turns and starts walking. And after a moment, after a long, furious moment where pride and pain wrestle inside her chest, she limps after him. The forest closes around them. Snow muffles their steps. The trees grow denser, older, their trunks thick and scarred, bark split by lightning strikes that never healed. The moon is a pale smear behind clouds, just enough light to keep her from stumbling again. The Alpha King moves with quiet certainty, every step measured, as if he's walked this path before. Of course he has. She keeps her distance. 2 steps behind him. Far enough that she doesn't have to smell him constantly. Close enough that the bond keeps tugging, a low, persistent ache that won't be ignored. Her thigh throbs where the wound is wrapped. Every pulse sends pain rippling upward, but she refuses to slow. She refuses to show weakness in front of him. She's done that once already. It cost her everything. The silence stretches. Not comfortable. Not companionable. Just heavy. And in that quiet, the past creeps in. It always does. The forest fades at the edges of her vision, replaced by memory, sharp and cruel and impossible to outrun. She's 18 again. Standing in the ceremonial circle, bare feet pressed to warm stone instead of ice. Lanterns hang from carved poles, their light flickering gold and soft. The pack surrounds her in a wide ring, faces expectant, murmuring softly. The air hums with anticipation and magic. She remembers how her heart pounded then too. But it wasn't fear. It was hope. The bond had awakened days before, faint at first, then undeniable. A pull in her chest. A warmth she'd never known. The elders had smiled, tight and cautious, but they hadn't stopped the ceremony. They'd told her to prepare. To be grateful. The Alpha King stood across from her. Younger, but already powerful. Already distant. She remembers thinking he looked like the moon itself had bent down and chosen a body, silver-black hair, eyes bright with something unreadable. She remembers how the bond surged when he stepped closer, how her wolf nearly purred at the recognition. This is it, she'd thought. This is where my life begins. The elder had asked the question, voice ringing out into the night. Do you claim her as your mate? The silence that followed had been unbearable. The Alpha King hadn't reached for her. He hadn't smiled. He hadn't even hesitated long enough for hope to survive. I will not claim a cursed mate. The words had cut clean through the night. She remembers the way the world seemed to tilt, how the sound of her own heartbeat drowned out everything else. How the lanterns flickered violently, reacting to the sudden surge of emotion she couldn't control. Cursed. The word spread through the circle like rot. She remembers the elders' faces changing, not shocked, not angry, but relieved. Like a decision had finally been made for them. She remembers the whispers starting immediately. Silver flame. Unstable. Too much power. Too early. Her wolf had manifested at 13, years before it should have. Not just manifested, but burned bright and wild, silver fire threading through her veins. The elders had watched her like a ticking fuse from that day forward. She's a future disaster, one of them had said once, thinking she couldn't hear. They never said it quietly enough. The Alpha King had stepped back then, severing the bond with ritual precision. Cold. Controlled. Final. She remembers how it felt, not just rejection, but something worse. Erasure. Like she'd never existed in his world at all. The memory tightens around her chest now, sharp enough that she stumbles. The Alpha King slows instantly. You're bleeding again, he says without turning. I don't care, she snaps. He stops anyway. She almost collides with his back before she catches herself. He turns slowly, gaze dropping to her thigh, to the fresh bloom of red soaking through the cloth. His jaw tightens. You will if you collapse, he says. And I won't carry you. Something bitter twists inside her. Good, she says. I wouldn't want you to. He meets her eyes then, really looks at her, and something flickers there, pain, maybe, or memory. He doesn't argue. He just steps aside, letting her pass. She limps forward, anger pushing her on when her body threatens to fail. They walk. Minutes pass. Maybe longer. Time stretches and folds in the cold. Her thoughts drift again, pulled backward by exhaustion and old wounds. Exile hadn't been dramatic. No chains. No screaming. Just a quiet sentence delivered by the council at dawn. You will leave the territory by nightfall. That was it. No appeals. No explanations. No apologies. She'd packed what little she owned, hands shaking, heart numb. She'd crossed the border alone, the invisible line humming with ward magic that stung like rejection, all over again. She'd expected death. Instead, she'd learned how to survive. Rogue lands were brutal. Unforgiving. Wolves without packs were desperate, unpredictable. She learned to read terrain, to hide her scent, to fight dirty. She learned that trust was a liability and mercy a gamble. She learned how to lock her power down tight. It hadn't been easy. The silver flame fought her every step of the way, raging against confinement, burning her from the inside out. Some nights she'd screamed into the dirt, nails digging trenches as she forced it back, over and over, until she shook with exhaustion. But she'd done it. She'd survived without him. Without anyone. The memory hardened something in her spine. When the Alpha King slows again, she doesn't. She passes him deliberately, chin lifted, eyes forward. He lets her. They reach a narrow ravine, where the trees thin, and stone rises sharply on either side. The wind funnels through here, cold and biting, but the ground is more stable. Less snow. More rock. He gestures toward a shallow overhang carved into the cliff face. "We'll shelter here," he says. She doesn't answer. She steps under the rock anyway, collapsing against the stone with a sharp exhale she can't hold back anymore. Her legs finally give, and she slides down to sit, back pressed to cold rock, breath coming in shallow pools. The Alpha King kneels a few feet away, keeping distance this time. He checks the tree line, listening, alert. Only when he seems satisfied that they are alone does he turn back to her. She feels his gaze like heat on her skin. "I didn't thank you," she says suddenly. He blinks once. "I didn't expect you to." The honesty of it disarms her more than anger would have. "Good," she mutters. "Because I won't." Silence settles again. The storm outside begins to ease, snow falling softer now, drifting lazily past the ravine opening. The world feels suspended, like it's waiting. Her silver heat hums beneath her skin, restless, but quieter here, as if the stone dampens it somehow. She presses her head back, eyes closing despite herself. Tired doesn't begin to cover it. She feels wrung out. Hollowed. Raw. "You shouldn't have come," she says quietly. His voice comes just as quietly in return. "You shouldn't have been alone." She snorts weakly. "Funny how that didn't stop you before." The words hang between them, sharp and unresolved. He doesn't respond. She opens her eyes, looking at him again. Really looking this time. He looks older. Not just in years, but in weight. Like responsibility, has carved deeper lines into him than time ever could. His shoulders are tense, his posture rigid with control. Even at rest, he looks like he's braced for impact. "What do you want?" she asks. He studies her for a long moment before answering. "To get you somewhere safe," he says. "Before the next wave finds you." And then, she presses. His gaze darkens. "Then we face what's coming." Her laugh is quiet, humorless. "You always did love vague answers." Something like a ghost of a smile flickers at the corner of his mouth. "It's gone just as fast." "You always hated them," he agrees. The bond pulses between them again, softer this time, less painful. Still unwanted. Still there. She looks away first. "I'm not the girl you rejected," she says. "I won't be managed. I won't be hidden. And I won't be sacrificed to make your pack feel safe." "I know," he says. The certainty in his voice makes her look back despite herself. "I know exactly who you are," he continues. "And I knew it then too." Her chest tightens painfully. "Then why?" "Because if I'd claimed you," he says, cutting in gently, "they would have killed you before the bond settled. And they would have called it mercy." The words land heavy. She swallows hard. For a moment, neither of them speaks. Outside, the forest creaks softly, branches shifting under snow. Somewhere far away, something howls, but it's distant. Unclear. She doesn't forgive him. Not tonight. But for the first time in 7 years, the story she's told herself, the one where he never cared at all, fractures. And that frightens her more than the chase ever did. Because anger kept her alive. What replaces it is far more dangerous. Hope. The ravine does not keep them long. The ground trembles again before dawn breaks, low and slow, like a warning whispered through stone. The Alpha King is on his feet instantly, senses flaring, eyes sharp as he listens beyond sound. She feels it too, a pull deep in her bones, subtle but undeniable. Not danger this time. Calling. They leave before the light changes. The climb is brutal. The path winds upward along the spine of the mountain, narrow and treacherous, carved by time and ice rather than intention. Wind claws at them, ripping heat from skin, carrying the smell of ancient snow and buried stone. She slips more than once. Each time, the Alpha King steadies her without comment, fingers firm, brief, respectful. He never holds longer than necessary. He never apologizes. She doesn't thank him. They crest a ridge just as the world below fades into pale blue shadow. The glacier cliffs rise ahead, vast, jagged, glowing faintly as if moonlight has soaked into the ice itself. The air changes here. Thicker. Charged. Her silver heat stirs, humming low and alert, no longer restrained but not raging either. Curious. She slows without realizing it. The Alpha King notices. "We're close," he says. "To what?" she asks. He doesn't answer. The entrance reveals itself only when she steps nearer, an arch carved into the cliff face, nearly swallowed by ice. Symbols etched into the stone catch the light, shallow grooves glowing faintly, as if remembering something long forgotten. Moon-carved ruins. She knows it before he says it. This place hums with old magic. Not the kind the elders use. Not the kind bound by rules and councils. This is older. Wilder. Unapologetic. Her breath fogs as she crosses the threshold. The temperature drops sharply, but the cold doesn't bite the same way. It presses instead, reverent, as if she's stepped into a place that expects silence. The air smells of stone and ash and something faintly metallic, like rain after fire. The corridor opens into a wide chamber. She stops short. The altar stands at the center, carved from a single slab of pale stone streaked with veins of silver. It's shaped like a crescent, smooth and worn, as if countless hands have passed over it across centuries. Above it, the ceiling opens to the sky through a jagged break in the glacier, moonlight pouring down in a single, focused beam. The light lands on the altar. Then shifts. Toward her. Her skin prickles. The Alpha King halts behind her. She can feel the tension roll off him, controlled but intense, like a bow drawn too tight. His voice is low when he speaks. "It's reacting to you." She swallows. "That's not possible." The altar answers. A low hum vibrates through the chamber, stone resonating like a living thing. The silver veins embedded in the altar flare brighter, pulsing in slow rhythm, matching her heartbeat. Her wrist burns suddenly, sharp enough to steal her breath. She gasps, clutching it. "No," she whispers. "No, no." The symbols along the walls ignite. Not all at once. One by one, ancient markings carved deep into the stone blaze to life, silver fire crawling through the grooves. The light dances, casting shadows that stretch and twist, filling the chamber with movement. Words form. Not spoken. Seen. Felt. The child of flame shall rise rejected, and return crowned in ash. Her knees nearly give. Rejected. The word echoes through her like a strike to the chest. The prophecy doesn't soften it. Doesn't excuse it. It names it. She staggers forward despite herself, drawn toward the altar, toward the words burning themselves into the stone. Her wrist sees hotter, pain blossoming outward, and when she looks down, she screams. An ancient sigil burns into her skin, lines etching themselves in silver fire, curling and precise and unmistakable. It's beautiful and terrible all at once, a mark that feels older than blood, older than wolves. The Alpha King goes utterly still. She sees it in the reflection of the altar's glow, the way his breath stops, the way his jaw tightens, the way his eyes darken with recognition. You knew, she says hoarsely. He doesn't deny it. I suspected, he says. I hoped I was wrong. Her laugh is sharp and broken. You brought me here anyway. Yes. Why? Because running doesn't change what you are. The altar hum deepens, responding to the tension between them. The moonlight intensifies, silver beams slicing through the chamber, illuminating carvings she hadn't noticed before, walls crowned in flame, figures kneeling, cities burning and rebuilding in cycles etched into stone. This place, she says slowly, dread creeping in, isn't a sanctuary. No, he agrees. It's a witness. Her wrist throbs, the sigil cooling slightly, settling into her skin like it belongs there. The silver heat inside her shifts, no longer frantic, no longer contained. It stretches, wakes, becomes aware of itself. She feels watched. Not by enemies. By history. Prophecy has always terrified her. She's seen what it does, how it turns lives into tools, how it strips choice away and calls it destiny. The elders used prophecy like a weapon, twisting words to justify fear, control, death. This only leads to destruction, she says. Every story like this ends the same way. Power rises. People die. Or they are saved, he counters. She spins on him, anger flashing bright. You don't get to say that. You've never been the one standing in the fire. His gaze doesn't waver. I've been standing in it since the day I let you go. The words hit harder than she expects. She turns away, breathing hard, staring at the altar as the light slowly dims, the symbols settling into a steady glow. The chamber feels alive, aware of her presence, as if waiting for her to accept something she isn't ready to face. I don't want this, she says quietly. I didn't ask for it. None of us do, he replies. But denying it won't keep others from trying to use it. The truth of that sinks in, heavy and unavoidable. She's been hunted not because she ran, but because she exists. The prophecy doesn't make her powerful. It explains why she already is. The altar hums once more, softer now, almost satisfied. The world beyond the chamber answers with a distant rumble, echoing through ice and stone. Something stirs far away, something ancient, something that remembers this power and has been waiting for it to surface again. She wraps her arms around herself, suddenly cold in a way the mountain can't explain. I don't trust prophecy, she says. It always demands blood. He steps closer, not touching, but near enough that she can feel his presence steadying the air around her. Then we change how it ends, he says. She looks at him then, really looks, at the Alpha who rejected her, who watched from the shadows, who stands now in the glow of an altar that has chosen her. And if the world won't let us, she asks. His voice is quiet. Then the world will learn. The moonlight shifts again, casting their shadows long and intertwined across the stone floor. Above them, the glacier creaks, a sound like an old giant turning in its sleep. The myth has awakened, and it knows her name. The mountain answers before the world does. A deep crack rolls through the glacier above them, slow and deliberate, like the clearing of an ancient throat. The light in the chamber flickers. Dust drifts down from the ceiling in fine silver threads. The altar's hum falters, then goes silent. She feels it instantly. The pull tightens. Not inward this time. Outward. They are coming, she says. The Alpha King doesn't ask how she knows. He's already moving, cloak flaring as he turns toward the corridor. His jaw is set, eyes sharp, every line of him pulled tight with redness. How many? He asks. She closes her eyes. The silver heat spreads, no longer burning, no longer chaotic. It moves like awareness now, brushing against something vast and hostile approaching through the mountain paths. Too many, she says. And they are not afraid. That alone chills her more than the ice. They reach the outer ledge just as the first presence crests the ridge. An alpha steps into view, his power slamming into the air like a challenge. He's followed by another. Then another. Wolves fan out across the snow-carved stone, cloaks snapping in the wind, eyes bright with hunger and suspicion. The silence stretches, taut and electric. She stands beside the Alpha King, her marked wrist tucked instinctively against her body. The sigil pulses faintly beneath her skin, responding to the gathering force. She can feel every gaze lock onto her. Not curiosity. Judgment. Recognition. Fear. One of the alphas steps forward, a broad-shouldered brute with scars carved deep into his face, his aura aggressive and unchecked. So, he says, voice carrying easily across the ledge. The rumors were true. Another alpha snorts. Of course they were. They always are when prophecy gets involved. She stiffens. The word lands like a thrown blade. Prophecy. You brought her here, a third alpha says, eyes narrowing on the Alpha King. To the ruins. To the altar. The Alpha King doesn't deny it. Yes. The simple confirmation ignites the gathering like dry brush. You've lost your mind. You've endangered us all. She's the silver flame. She's the reason entire packs burned generations ago. Voices rise. Accusations pile atop one another, sharp and fast, overlapping until they blur into a single message she's heard her whole life. Monster. Threat. Mistake. Her chest tightens, but she doesn't step back. Not this time. The scarred alpha turns his gaze fully on her now, eyes gleaming. You feel it too, don't you, he says. The way the land reacts to you. The way power bends. She meets his stare, refusing to look down. I feel fear, she says evenly. Not mine. A ripple of unease passes through the group. The Alpha King steps half a pace in front of her, not blocking her, but making his position unmistakable. She's under my protection, he says. The words strike like thunder. Several alphas laugh, short, disbelieving bursts. Protection, one scoffs. You rejected her. You cast her out. You don't get to claim her now just because she's useful. Her stomach twists. The Alpha King doesn't look back at her. His voice remains level, controlled. I never stopped claiming responsibility. The scarred alpha bares his teeth. Responsibility doesn't erase prophecy. He lifts his hand. Magic ripples outward. The ground shudders. Ancient wards flare faintly around the ruins, responding to the hostile intent. The altar behind them glows dimly, like an ember stirred by breath. This place was sealed for a reason, the scarred Alpha continues. The last time the child of flame rose, whole territories were reduced to ash. She feels the weight of every eye on her again. You will end us, another Alpha says. Whether you mean to or not. She exhales slowly, steadying herself. You don't know me, she says. We know enough, the scarred Alpha snaps. We've seen this cycle before. Then maybe you're the problem, she replies quietly. If history keeps repeating itself under your rule. A sharp intake of breath runs through the gathered wolves. The Alpha King turns his head slightly, gold eyes flicking to her with something like surprise, and something like pride. The scarred Alpha's expression darkens. Enough, he growls. We are not here to debate philosophy. We are here to prevent annihilation. He gestures toward her marked wrist. Bind her. Now? The words hit like ice water. Several Alphas step forward at once, hands already glowing with binding magic, silver chains woven with ancient runes, humming with suppression. Her silver heat flares violently in response. No, she says, voice sharp. You don't get to decide that. This isn't a request, the scarred Alpha snarls. It's survival. The Alpha King turns fully now, power rolling off him in controlled waves that make the air tremble. She will not be bound, he says. A tense pause. Then laughter again, harsher this time. You choose her over the packs, one Alpha demands. Over the council. The Alpha King's jaw tightens. He doesn't answer immediately. And in that silence, everything fractures. She feels it before she sees it, the hesitation. Not long. Not obvious. But there. A heartbeat. A single breath where the weight of a kingdom presses down on him, where duty and instinct pull in opposite directions. It's enough. Her chest constricts painfully. 7 years ago, he hesitated too. She steps forward, moving out from beside him before he can react. Stop, she says. Every eye snaps to her. I won't be bound, she says clearly. And I won't be fought over like a weapon. The scarred Alpha sneers. Then you leave. The words ring out, sharp and final. Leave these lands, he continues. Now? Cross beyond our borders and never return. If you stay, we will bind you, or kill you if we must. Silence crashes down. The Alpha King turns toward her, something urgent in his gaze. She doesn't look at him. Not yet. Her silver heat steadies, no longer raging, no longer wild. It settles into something colder. Harder. Choice. She lifts her chin. I won't beg again, she says. The words aren't loud, but they carry. She turns to the Alpha King then, finally meeting his eyes. Whatever she sees there, conflict, regret, restraint, it doesn't matter. She's done waiting for someone else to choose her. This ends now, she says softly. For me. She steps back, then another step, creating distance between them. The Alpha King's hand twitches at his side. Don't, he says. She smiles faintly. Not kind. Not cruel. Tired. I survived without you, she says. I'll survive without them too. The scarred Alpha gestures sharply. Go. The wind howls, as if echoing the command. She turns away before anyone can stop her. Each step she takes feels like tearing something loose inside her chest, but it also feels like breathing after years underwater. The mountain path stretches ahead, cold and uncertain, and hers alone. Behind her, power surges. The alphas argue, voices raised now, clashing wills sparking visibly in the air. Someone shouts her name. She doesn't look back. Not when the first binding spell cracks against the stone behind her. Not when the Alpha King roars, a sound of fury and command that shakes the ledge. Not when the ground trembles beneath her feet, reacting to the storm of power unleashed in her wake. She keeps walking. Down the mountain. Into the unknown. The silver heat pulses once, strong, steady, unafraid. The world has chosen to fight her. And for the first time in her life, she doesn't run from it. She doesn't get far. She feels it before she hears it, the snap of wards igniting across the mountain range, ancient boundaries slamming shut like iron doors. The air thickens, pressure settling on her shoulders, on her lungs, making every breath harder than the last. Her steps falter. Snow no longer crunches beneath her feet. It grinds. They didn't let her leave. Of course they didn't. The wind shifts, carrying voices now. Not shouts. Orders. Signals passed from ridge to ridge, alpha calls layered with authority and fear. The sound travels fast. Faster than legs ever could. The world moves against her. She turns slowly, heart pounding, silver heat tightening in her chest like a fist. The mountain path behind her is already filling with figures, wolves in human form, cloaked, armed, moving with practiced coordination. This isn't a hunt. It's a roundup. She straightens her spine and keeps walking until the first barrier flares in front of her, light snapping into existence. A wall of ancient magic etched with runes she recognizes from childhood lessons she never wanted to learn. Containment. Her jaw clenches. So this is how they do it. Hand seize her arms from behind before she can react. She twists instinctively, elbow driving back, silver heat surging, but the magic dampens it, presses it down, smothers it just enough to steal her balance. Easy, someone mutters, not kindly. She's dragged forward, boots slipping, breath ragged, the mountain path blurring as rage and disbelief collide inside her. She doesn't scream. She doesn't beg. She mimes every face. They take her to the valley. The old gathering grounds lie spread out below the cliffs, carved into a natural amphitheater of stone and ice. Fires burn in a wide circle, their flames unnatural shades of blue and white, fed by magic rather than wood. Wolves line the perimeter, dozens of them. Then hundreds. Every pack. Every banner. Every judgment she's ever feared made flesh. They force her to the center. She feels the shift immediately, the way attention locks onto her like a physical weight. Murmurs ripple outward, growing louder as recognition spreads. Not just whispers now. Shouts. She's real. The silver flame lives. That's her. Her identity is no longer rumor. No longer theory. It's spectacle. A voice booms across the grounds, amplified by magic. Behold the child of flame. Her stomach turns. She lifts her head anyway. A platform rises at the far end of the valley, stone grinding against stone as ancient mechanisms awaken. Elders step forward, their expressions grave, rehearsed. They've done this before. Maybe not with her, but with others like her, long ago. They tell a story. They always do. They speak of destruction. Of fallen packs. Of ancient wars where flame consumed forest and flesh alike. They twist prophecy into a blade, sharpening it with selective memory and fear. They do not speak of why those wars began. They do not speak of who lit the first fire. She will end us, one elder declares. As the prophecy foretold. Her silver heat roils, furious and caged. That's not what it says, she snaps. Her voice echoes louder than she expects, raw and cracking through the air. Heads turn. Some recoil. Others lean in, eager for confirmation of their worst fears. The elder's lips curl faintly. Prophecy is not for interpretation by its subject. Laughter ripples through the crowd. Her hands curl into fists. They bring out the chains. She recognizes them instantly, silver-black metal etched with runes that burn just to look at. Forged in ancient rites, quenched in the blood of powerful beings. Suppression chains. Not meant to hold a body. Meant to hold a soul. A collective inhale sweeps the valley as the chains are lifted, links clinking softly, hungrily. Her pulse roars in her ears. She searches the crowd without meaning to. Finds him. The Alpha King stands at the edge of the platform, shoulders squared, face carved from stone. His eyes are locked on her, burning brighter than the fires. Power coils tight around him, barely restrained. He looks like a man holding back a storm. Alpha, an elder calls. You will speak. The words hit like a blow. The crowd quiets instantly. All eyes turn to him. Her heart stutters. No. Not this. Not again. The Alpha King steps forward slowly. Each step feels measured, deliberate, like he's choosing his footing on unstable ground. He stops at the edge of the platform, gaze never leaving her. Do you confirm, the elder says, that this female is the prophesied silver flame? Silence stretches. She feels it like a knife at her throat. Say no, she thinks. Lie? Save yourself. The bond hums painfully between them, stretched taut, waiting. Yes, he says. The word lands like thunder. Gasps erupt. Shouts follow. The valley surges with sound and movement, fear and vindication colliding in equal measure. Her chest tightens painfully. And do you stand by your rejection? The elder continues. Do you deny her claim? The question is a trap. They all know it. The Alpha King's jaw flexes. For a heartbeat, just one, she sees the weight of the crown press down on him. The years of rule. The lives depending on his choices. Then he lifts his chin. No, he says. The valley freezes. I deny the council's authority to condemn her, he continues, voice carrying, steady and clear. And I claim full responsibility for what she is. The words crash through her like a wave. He steps closer, power flaring now, no longer contained. She is not a curse, he says. She is not a weapon. She is a living being who has suffered under your fear for too long. Chaos erupts. Elders shout. Alphas snarl. Binding magic surges, slamming into the ground around him in warning bursts. The elder's voice cuts through it all. You would doom us for her. I would burn your lies to the ground, he snaps back. Something inside her breaks. Not cleanly. Not gently. It's the last restraint she didn't know she was still holding. The chains reach for her. The first link brushes her wrist. And the world explodes. Silver fire erupts from her core, a violent surge of power ripping outward in a blinding wave. The chains disintegrate on contact, metal screaming as it melts, runes shattering like glass. The ground beneath her fractures, cracks spider webbing outward in every direction. She screams, not in pain, but in release. The mountain answers. Stone buckles. Fires roar higher, flames turning white-hot, as they are consumed by the silver blaze. The air vibrates violently, pressure slamming into everybody in the valley. Wolves are thrown back. Alphas stagger. The elders fall to their knees. Her power rises around her like a living thing, silver flame wrapping her body without burning her skin. Her hair lifts, eyes blazing with light that isn't reflected, but generated. She stands at the center of it all, shaking, raw, unstoppable. The Alpha King shields his face from the blast, cloak snapping violently. When he looks up again, his eyes are wet. Not with fear. With awe. The mountains tremble, a deep, rolling quake that echoes for miles. Snow avalanches down distant slopes. The sky itself seems to dim, clouds spiraling as if pulled toward her. She feels everything. The land. The fear. The centuries of suppression pressing against her power like a dam finally shattered. This is what they were afraid of. Not destruction. Truth. Her scream cuts off abruptly as the power settles, not gone, not diminished, but anchored. Controlled by something deeper than fear. Choice. The silver fire dims to a steady glow, coiling around her like a crown made of flame. Silence crashes down. No one speaks. No one dares. She lowers her hands slowly, breath coming in harsh pulls, body trembling with the aftermath. The ground beneath her feet is scorched, stone blackened and glassy. She looks at the Alpha King. He's already moving toward her, ignoring shouted warnings, ignoring raised magic. He stops a few steps away, eyes searching her face. "You chose me," she says hoarsely. "Yes," he replies without hesitation. This time, without fear. Her laugh breaks into a sob. "The damage is already done," she says. "You can't undo 7 years with one choice." "I know," he says softly. Around them, the valley lies stunned, packs silent, prophecy no longer a distant threat, but a living, breathing presence standing before them. She turns away from him slowly, silver fire still flickering beneath her skin. "This ends now," she says, not as a plea, not as a promise. As a warning. The mask has dropped. And nothing will ever be the same again. Silence doesn't last. It never does when power shifts. The valley is still shaking when the first scream tears through the air, not from fear, but from warning. A sharp alpha call, fractured and panicked, echoes from the far ridge. Heads snap up. Wolves turn. The ground beneath the scorched stone begins to pulse, not with her silver fire, but with something else. Something wrong. She feels it before she understands it. A cold that has nothing to do with snow creeps into her bones. Not the clean cold of winter. This is rot cold. Grave cold. A pressure that presses inward instead of down, like a hand closing around the heart of the world. The silver fire around her flares defensively. Her breath stutters. "No," she whispers. The Alpha King is already beside her, body angled subtly in front of hers, not shielding her from what's coming, but from the ones who might try to use her again. "They were waiting," he says grimly. The words barely leave his mouth before the shadows move. At first, it looks like the fires are failing. The blue-white flames around the valley gutters and bends unnaturally, stretching sideways, as if pulled by an unseen tide. Darkness spills across the stone, thick and crawling, pooling at the edges of the gathering grounds. Then it rises. Shadow beasts claw their way out of the dark like nightmares given form, too many limbs, eyes burning sickly amber, bodies half smoke and half bone. Their movements are jerky and wrong, as if the world itself rejects their presence. Screams erupt. Packs scatter. Alphas bark orders that fracture under panic. Binding magic slams into the first wave of creatures, and dissolves like mist. The elders recoil. Too late. The beasts tear into the outer ring with savage precision, cutting down wolves who barely have time to shift. Blood splashes against stone already scorched by silver fire. The air fills with the sound of tearing flesh and cracking bone. She stands frozen for half a heartbeat. Then the silver fire roars. "No more," she says. Her voice isn't loud, but it isn't hers alone anymore. The Alpha King turns sharply, eyes widening as the air around her thickens, power condensing so tightly it warps light. The mark on her wrist blazes white-hot, lines extending, branching, burning new paths across her skin and sinking deep into her veins. She steps forward. The ground answers. Stone ripples beneath her feet like water. Ancient runes buried beneath centuries of neglect flare to life, glowing silver, gold, and something deeper, older than language. The ruins beneath the valley stir, foundations grinding as forgotten structures awaken. Rivers in the distance scream. Literally scream. Water boils where silver fire touches it, steam rising in massive plumes that roll across the landscape. Trees bow, as if under the weight of something vast passing overhead. The moon above them darkens, then bleeds red, staining the clouds like spilled wine. The world knows. She lifts her hands and lets go. The shift is violent. Bone snaps. Flesh tears. Silver flame engulfs her completely, searing away the last remnants of restraint. Her scream echoes across the valley, layered with others, voices rising from deep time, ancient and countless. Her wolf explodes outward. Not the sleek form they expect. Not something contained. She rises massive and radiant, fur woven with living silver fire, eyes blazing like twin moons. A crown of flame arcs above her head, burning without consuming, casting long, trembling shadows across the battlefield. The shadow beasts recoil. They recognize her. The Alpha King drops to one knee without realizing he's doing it, breath knocked from his lungs by the sheer force of her presence. Around him, other alphas falter, instincts screaming submission, or terror. She throws back her head and howls. The sound rips through the sky. Ancestors answer. Their voices pour through her, wolves long turned to dust, queens and warriors and outcasts, who burned so she could stand here now. Their memories flood her veins, betrayal and sacrifice, love twisted into legend, power buried and hunted and feared. I am not your sacrifice. The words thunder out of her, spoken by many mouths through one voice. Silver fire rains down. Where it touches shadow, darkness disintegrates. Beasts scream as their forms unravel, smoke shredding into nothing. She moves through them like judgment given shape, claws carving through ancient flesh that was never meant to walk the world again. The Alpha King fights at her side. He shifts mid-stride, massive and dark, gold eyes burning as he tears into creatures that try to flank her. They move together instinctively now, power and precision braided tight, the bond between them no longer denied, just unspoken. But the shadows keep coming. From the cracks in the earth. From the edges of the ruins. From places that should not exist. This isn't an invasion. It's a release. Something old laughs. The sound crawls across the battlefield, low and satisfied, echoing from nowhere and everywhere at once. The silver fire around her flickers, not weak, but strained, reacting to a presence that predates even the prophecy. The beasts pull back suddenly. Parting. Making room. The ground splits open at the center of the valley, stone screaming as it tears apart. From the wound rises a figure wrapped in shadow and bone, crowned not with flame, but with emptiness. Its eyes are pits of endless night. Child of flame, it intones, voice layered and vast. You were never meant to rule alone. Recognition slams into her. This is not council. Not alpha. Not wolf. This is what the prophecy warned about, and what it never named. The ancient enemy smiles. And the world holds its breath. The noise fades first. Not all at once. Not cleanly. It thins, like smoke after a fire, until the screams and howls and cracking stone become echoes, then memory, then nothing at all. The last shadow dissolves into ash at her feet, curling upward in a thin black spiral before the wind takes it. Silence settles over the valley. It is not peaceful. It is stunned. Bodies lie scattered across the scorched ground, some whole, some reduced to outlines burned into stone. Wolves, alpha and pack alike, are still, breath shallow, eyes wide with the kind of shock that follows survival when survival wasn't expected. The air smells of char and iron and something faintly sweet, like lightning after rain. Her silver fire dims. Not gone. Never gone. It draws inward, folding back into her bones, her blood, her breath. The crown of flame above her head gutters once, then collapses into sparks that drift upward and vanish into the red-stained sky. She stands where the battlefield broke around her. Alone. The Alpha King is there, she knows he is, but distance has opened between them that no step can cross. Not now. Not after everything that's been seen. Everything that's been unleashed. Her wolf recedes, leaving her body trembling, skin humming with residual power. Her feet sink into warm ash. Each breath feels too loud, too sharp in the hush that follows catastrophe. She looks down at her hands. They are clean. No blood. No burns. And yet she feels the weight of every life that ended here pressing against her chest like a second heart. The ancient enemy is gone. Not destroyed. Gone? Withdrawn into whatever darkness birthed it, leaving behind a wound in the world that hasn't decided yet whether it will heal or scar. The elders don't speak. The alphas don't approach. No one rushes to crown her. No one kneels now, not because they won't, but because they don't know how. She is not what their stories prepared them for. The prophecy did not end. It opened. She turns slowly, surveying the valley. Fires gutter low. The ruins hum faintly beneath the surface, awake now, remembering their purpose. The moon hangs heavy and red above it all, watching, judging, waiting. She feels the land under her feet, every crack, every tremor, every scar left by fear and power misused for generations. It knows her now. Knows her choice wasn't destruction for its own sake. But it also knows what she's capable of. Her throat tightens. This is the moment no one warns you about. Not the battle. Not the pain. The aftermath. When the noise is gone and the adrenaline drains away, and you're left standing in the wreckage, holding power that could reshape everything, and realizing there's no version of the future where you remain untouched by it. She hears footsteps behind her. Measured. Careful. She doesn't turn. The Alpha King stops a few paces back. She can feel his presence like gravity, steady and restrained and unbearably familiar. He doesn't speak. He knows better now. She closes her eyes. 7 years ago, she was rejected under the full moon, told she was too much, too dangerous, too wrong to be claimed. Tonight, that same moon watched her stand between the world and something ancient and devouring, and choose not to let it win. The irony almost makes her laugh. Almost. Was I born to save them, she whispers, voice hoarse in the stillness, or to burn them? The question doesn't expect an answer. It's not meant for the Alpha King. Or the elders. or the packs watching from the edges of the valley with fear still bright in their eyes. It's meant for the quiet thing inside her that has always known this moment would come. She opens her eyes again. No one moves. No one breathes too loudly. They are waiting. For forgiveness. For judgment. For direction. She doesn't give it. Not yet. She turns at last, meeting the Alpha King's gaze across the space between them. There is so much in his eyes it almost hurts to look: relief, awe, regret, something raw and unguarded that might be love if either of them dares to name it. She doesn't smile. She doesn't accuse. She simply looks at him, and then past him, at the world that tried to cage her, burn her, erase her. "I am not your sacrifice," she says quietly. The words ripple outward, carried by the land itself. Not a threat. A truth. She steps forward once, then stops, ash crunching softly beneath her feet. The packs flinch, instinctively making space. Not because she commands it, but because they finally understand she doesn't need to. The moon shifts behind cloud, red dimming to silver once more. The night exhales. And somewhere deep beneath the ruins, something ancient stirs again, not in triumph, but in curiosity. Because the child of flame did not choose destruction. And that choice may be the most dangerous power of all. She lifts her chin, gaze steady, voice carrying through the quiet valley and into the listening dark beyond. If this story stirred your soul, if you felt her fear, her rage, her fire, subscribe to Moonbound Werewolf Romance Stories. Because here, rejected mates rise. And destiny never sleeps. The ground trembles beneath their feet. Not the violent shudder of battle. Not the rupture of unleashed power. This is different. This is deliberate. A low vibration rolls through the valley, subtle enough that some of the wolves don't notice at first. Stone hums. Ash lifts in slow spirals. The ruins beneath the scorched ground answer with a sound like breath drawn after a long sleep. She feels it immediately. Her spine stiffens. The silver heat inside her, calm, contained moments ago, tightens, alert, like a blade sliding back into a ready grip. The land that had accepted her choice now whispers caution. The Alpha King feels it too. He shifts his stance, weight settling, instincts flaring. His gaze sweeps the darkened ridges, the broken cliffs, the shadowed tree lines where moonlight no longer reaches. His power hums, restrained but coiled, as if something has just crossed an invisible boundary. The wolves murmur uneasily. No one speaks. The tremor comes again. Stronger. Cracks spider across the stone beneath their feet, not splitting wide enough to swallow, but enough to warn. The air grows heavy, pressing inward, bending sound. Even the wind seems to slow, as if the world itself is listening. She steps forward instinctively, bare feet sinking into warm ash. This isn't over, she says quietly. The words are not fear. They are recognition. The ruins respond. Deep beneath the valley, something vast shifts. Not awakening, stirring. Like a giant turning in its sleep, irritated at being disturbed. Ancient wards flicker, symbols pulsing faintly before dimming again, as if whatever watches from below is merely testing the edges of its cage. A voice rises from the dark. Not loud. Not shouted. It seeps into the air, curling through stone and bone alike, bypassing ears entirely and settling directly into the mind. The Flame Queen has risen. Her breath catches. Queen. The word lands with weight, not triumph. Burden. But the true Alpha has not. The silence that follows is suffocating. Every wolf feels it, the way instinct recoils, the way something fundamental shifts beneath the surface of the world. Alphas stiffen, power flaring unconsciously, each sensing the same impossible truth at once. This voice does not belong to the shadow beasts. It does not belong to the council. It does not belong to the ruins. It belongs to something older than packs. Older than crowns. Older than prophecy itself. The Alpha King's jaw tightens. True Alpha. The title burns through him, not as ambition, but as challenge. His gaze flicks to her, sharp and searching, as if he's afraid the voice might be right. She doesn't look away. She studies the dark where the sound came from, eyes narrowed, silver fire stirring faintly beneath her skin. Her mark aches, not in pain, but in warning. The ancestors inside her are silent now, watchful. This is not their fight. Not yet. The ground settles slowly, the tremor fading into a deep, resonant hum that lingers long after the movement stops. The moon above shifts again, red bleeding fully back into silver, as if the sky itself is retreating from what it almost revealed. Wolves begin to breathe again. Someone swallows loudly. Another takes a step back without realizing it. The elders exchange fearful glances, old certainties unraveling in their eyes. They thought the prophecy ended tonight. Thought power had shown its hand. They were wrong. She turns slightly, meeting the Alpha King's gaze once more. There is no accusation there now. No plea. Only truth. Whatever rises next will not be stopped by counsels, or chains, or fear dressed up as wisdom. Whatever comes will demand unity, or burn what remains of their fractured world to cinders. The Alpha King inclines his head, just a fraction. Not submission. Acknowledgement. The land exhales again, ash settling, ruins dimming as if returning to dormancy. The valley does not heal, but it holds. For now. She takes one slow breath, grounding herself in the quiet that follows. The silver fire steadies. Her wolf stirs but does not surface. She remains herself, changed, marked, chosen, but still standing in her own skin. This was only the beginning, she murmurs, not to anyone in particular. The night offers no denial. Somewhere far beyond the mountains, something answers, not with words, but with intention. Lines are being drawn. Old alliances tested. Ancient blood stirring in veins that have slept for centuries. The Flame Queen has risen. But the world is not ready for what comes next. And neither is she. The darkness closes in gently, not as an ending, but as a promise. Cut to silence.